Hello and welcome back to Forever Rugby Beyond Forever Sports for today's reaction to the Springbok team announcement. My reaction to the Springbok team announcement, rather, because obviously we did the announcement this morning. We had a panel show, which is very cool. I was actually on a plane at the time and busy landing and stuff like that, which is why I couldn't join in. So I thought I would take an opportunity to react to the team, not necessarily in a literally look at the team, because we now all know the team, but react almost to the reactions to the team, because a lot of people are very unhappy or a little bit worried about the team itself because it is unchanged. And I thought it would be an opportunity now to speak a little bit about the concerns, whether they're warranted, whether they're not warranted, as well as kind of sort of what the thinking is behind the team selection, or what my thinking is behind the team selection, and where the concerns are. And I think I'll be able to show you a very interesting sort of a chart which has been put together by somebody you'll hopefully see on the channel a bit more soon, Caleb, as well. I will talk about it in a minute as well. So it's been quite interesting to have a look at exactly what everybody's been saying and why we maybe don't need to worry or do need to worry. Before I do that, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So the big thing everybody's worrying about is player workload. It's interesting how every World Cup, every tournament, even every game and stuff, is a theme. There's always a theme. And, in 2019, the theme was the bomb squad. That was the only thing anyone could talk about when it came to the Springboks. That 6-2 split, 2 locks, for example, putting on a new a new pack. That was like the big sort of point of interest. In this World Cup, we've seen a little bit of stuff about the 7-1, obviously, and the splits have definitely continued to be a bit of a theme. But something that's become very interesting is the idea of player workload, which I've never really seen as much attention be put on now as it has in the past. And it's very interesting. Obviously, players are now playing more rugby than ever. We don't have a global calendar, for example, and player workload management has come to the fore during this World Cup. And I think it's a very good thing, by the way. I think it's very good that we're talking about player welfare and workload and understanding how important that is in terms of keeping players fresh and therefore keeping them safe, keeping them uninjured. And that is why a lot of people are very unhappy with the Springbok team selection, because Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus have named an unchanged 23. No swaps to the bench or starting, and the unchanged 23. The same 23, same 15, and bench that ran out last weekend against France will run again this week against England. And that is, of course, the concern for a lot of people. But the one thing that I think we're not doing is that we're looking at our team in isolation to everybody else. Everyone's sitting there saying, well, we need to rest players because, it was such a big game against France, which it was, and now they have to try and get up again to play this weekend and try and make a final. Are they going to cope? And we don't seem to pay attention to the fact that there are 3 other teams in the same sort of situation, and they all had to lift themselves up. Yes, the quality between England, Fiji, Wales, and Argentina maybe didn't match the other 2 quarterfinals. But in terms of intensity, they still had to be fight right till the end, both Argentina as well as England. So I'd probably argue that all the squads are probably very similarly sort of mentally and physically fatigued. They've got the same conundrum going into this weekend. How do you get this weekend right in terms of rotating players, keeping players fresh, and then a final? All teams have named very similar sides. No team has really rotated. And at the end of the day, you've got 3 games left. And I think somebody put on a comment on the channel just a bit earlier saying that there's no guarantee of a final. And I think that's such a good comment, because this is what the Box has been saying all week. You cannot underestimate England. We cannot go into this weekend thinking, oh, well, it's just England, therefore we need to rotate and keep people fresh for the final. There's no guarantee you're going to get to the final. And as a result, we've named the same team. And in terms of player workload, this is what I'm going to have a look at. Now, this has been put together by Angus Usher, and he goes by Analyst Gus on Twitter. Link in the description. Go check him out. Does some very cool things. Shout out from Optus Stats, and I'm hoping to chat to him on the channel very soon. And I'm going to look at these minutes as he's done it. He's basically what he's done is he's done every single starting lineup, all the 23s of this weekend's teams, and looked at the playing minutes, because it's interesting to see how this might hopefully settle the fears that we have about Bok burnout. Because if we look at the squads across the four teams, the Boks have actually managed their workload the best, I suppose, in terms of spreading the workload. They've spread the workload the most amongst the squad. So if we have a look here, basically the green is if they've played less than 150 minutes, I think, or 180 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 150. Less than 150 minutes. The yellow is 150 to about 200, I think. The orange is 200 plus. The light red is 250 plus. And the dark red is 300 plus. That is sort of the key. So if we have a look over here, the players in the red inverted commas are Dwayne Muir and Jesse Creel and Damien Burnham. So they have played the most out of all the box. Apart from that, everybody else either in the orange or in the yellow, with a lot of players, the likes of Pollard coming back from injury. Vincent Koch also had some injuries, and Kobus Rana, 5 scrum offs. They're in the green, so they've barely played any minutes at all. So if you look at it, the average minutes per player in the Springbok squad is sitting at about 200. The average for England is about 220. Now, Rassi also spoke about the fact that this is quite similar. But if you look at some of the individuals, Jamie George, Mario Toje, Ben Earl, Joe Marchant, Johnny May, Ollie Chesham, all packing pretty big minutes. For example, if we look at a player by player, Evan Etzebeth has played 100 minutes fewer than Mario Toje, for example. Whereas Franco Moss has played 40 minutes more than a George Martin. Courtney Laws has played a lot more than Sia Khaleesi, for example. Ben Earl has played a lot more than Dwayne Muir, despite the fact Dwayne Muir has played more than most. So fatigue shouldn't be an issue for South Africa in terms of this game. And the way we've done this, and given the fact that everyone is going to be playing similar size this weekend and next weekend, we, in theory, should have the least fatigued players in terms of a literal... I mean, it's not as easy as simply saying they played less, therefore they're fresher. But in terms of managing the workload, we have spread the workload the most. So, yeah, England 20 more minutes, and that's not a massive amount, but it is more. If we look at the other semi-final, for example, this is what it looks like for the All Blacks and Argentina. Argentina have actually got the most playing minutes, 224. A lot of players there in the red. A lot of their starting line players have played a lot of rugby. New Zealand have got about 200, so they're very similar. So New Zealand and South Africa have rotated their squads quite a lot this tournament. And whether that has helped them get to this stage, I think it's probably been a factor. I'm not sure how big of a factor it has been. But I think the reason I wanted to sort of show you this entire chart is that there's no reason to panic about starting an unchanged side. This is a semi-final. This is playoff rugby. You cannot afford to underestimate England. You make a mistake this weekend, pick a team that you think can beat England, but you maybe not your strongest side, you get knocked out. What's the first thing everyone's going to say? Well, you didn't take it seriously enough. You rested players. You rotated. You deserve to get knocked out. Unfortunately, when it comes to playoffs, 3 in a row. You're going to get 3 big efforts. That's how the cookie crumbles. You're going to have to. And I think, what players have been saying, if you can't get yourself up for 3 games in a row at this level, at this stage, you don't deserve to wear the jersey. If you play 2 big semi-finals and you can't get yourself up for a final, you shouldn't be where you are. And I think that the players are quite honest about the fact that they're like, we will get ourselves up for any match. A match like a World Cup final only comes up once every 4 years, if you're very lucky. I mean, to play in 2 back-to-back World Cup finals, for example, for Springbok players, that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Get yourself up for it. But the good news is, from a player welfare point of view and a player management point of view, the box has spread the load the most. And this is also not taking into account that there were bye weeks, and we did have a bye week right at the end, which means that some players actually had 2 weeks between our last game and that France game, and some players actually had 3 weeks between their last game and that France game. So the players have not played a lot of rugby in the last few weeks. So I don't think we need to be worrying about that too much, and I don't think we need to be panicking at the fact that we have got an unchanged side. If you still have any concerns, let me know what you think after looking at that down in the comments below. Has that made you settle down a bit, or are you still worried? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you think of the team as well. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.